go. Yes, sir, man. AP poll top 25. Week 7. Week 7. Week 7 is here. All right. Let's start top 25. Let's start at number 25. Now, look. Florida State is very fortunate to be ranked number 25, right? Now, I credit them. I think if they wouldn't have made that comeback in the fourth quarter, they held Miami, obviously, scoreless in that fourth quarter and came back. Tommy was finally making some throws. He was making some plays down the field. They closed the deficit real good. It looks a lot better than what it was because this was a butt whipping. Them Canes put it on, obviously, them Seminoles, 28-3 at one point in this game. Nonetheless, man, Florida State, 3-2. Your whole thing is still ahead of you, right? You got 2 L's. You lost to 2 ranked teams in Virginia, and you also lost to Miami. So it doesn't look that bad, but you got to handle business. So we'll see how they rebound after these 2 L's. How will they respond? All right, now let's talk about USF. I love that they're back ranked again, right? The most ugly loss was to Miami, 49-12, right? But they've looked good early so far this season, right? They upset of Florida, right? We've seen Florida, they're not ranked in the AP poll, but we know what they were able to do to a team that's no longer ranked in the AP poll at number 9, Texas formerly, right? They was able to beat them pretty handily at home. So, with USF winning that game 18-16, their resume looks really good. Byron Brown has looked good. He's continued to obviously run the ball at an elite level. I think he combined for 5 or 6 touchdowns in the last win, over 160 yards rushing. He also got a kid that was formerly out here in Roswell in Georgia. He also helped out a lot in the previous game in their win. He's been phenomenal this far this season, Kai Davenport. So USF got some weapons, man. They're a pretty good team. I think they should be ranked in number 24, and will be a team to continue to watch. Now, the nitty-gritty in the big game is October 25th, right? Now, Memphis is ranked for the first time in the AP poll so far this year. Those 2 teams are going to face each other on October 25th, a massive, massive game in the group of 5. Whoever wins that likely determines who gets into the CFP playoff, right? Because it's going to be the group of 5. Boise State not as good this year, but those 2 teams could have a lot to say of who gets into that spot as a group of 5 team. Really big game coming up for both of those teams who are playing pretty well. Memphis 6-0. Obviously, USF is 5-1. Now, Iowa State, ugly loss on the road to Cincinnati, who received some votes this week. They didn't get ranked, but they was up big in that game against Iowa State, and it was not their best performance, obviously, on the ground. They struggled mightily in that game, but nonetheless, you're still ranked, still have a lot ahead of you, and you can still obviously make the CFP playoff despite being 22nd because you're in the Big 12 and you have a chance to potentially win it. Next up, Arizona State, right? They've continued to look good. Jordan Tyson, right? Sam Leavitt. This is a really good football team that, struggled early on in the year, had that loss, but have gotten better and better. They're going to be a team to continue to watch moving forward. All right, next up, Vanderbilt. Look, I tried to tell y'all. Now, look, they didn't get beat by a 30-piece, right? But Alabama pulled away from that game late. But I tried to tell y'all, Vanderbilt's a good team, but they talk too much ish for a team that hasn't done nothing yet. Yes, they made a bowl game last year. Yes, they beat Auburn. Yes, they beat Alabama last year. But again, a team that still has things they have to figure out. Now, I commend them. They stayed in that game against Bama. They made it tough. But again, just talking before, you really have established yourself as them dudes yet. You know what I'm saying? Now, Pavi is good, right? And they got great players around him. And Eli Stowers is another player that's a stud. But again, a team that has not won at a high level for a long time. But nonetheless, I told y'all they was not going to beat Bama. I knew after he said that, Klein, I was like, yeah, that's bulletin board. They're going to beat them boys. Next up, how about the ACC, man, this year? The ACC has been great. Now, I know what you're going to say, Najeh, what are you talking about? The ACC doesn't have really good teams. Look, in this poll, right, they got 4 ranked teams. That's an improvement from last year, right? Florida State, Virginia, you got Miami, and obviously Georgia Tech, we'll talk about here later. But Virginia pulled off a really big win on the road against a previously undefeated Louisville team, right? And Louisville got other big games coming up as well, and they'll get a chance to prove themselves. But a big win on the road that went back and forth, 27-24 overtime victory. Virginia has looked good this year, and it could be a potent team. They got everything in front of them, and they could potentially be in the ACC championship game. Now, again, I don't know if people want to see Miami versus obviously Virginia, but if it continues to go how it's going, they have a strong chance to do that. And Florida State is probably on the outside looking in of an ACC championship with their 2 losses now to to Virginia and obviously Miami. So they definitely could be in if everything stays the same for the Cavaliers. Now, BYU, man, they got a quarterback on their hands, man, in Bachmeier, who's continuing to look good. They did it again this past Friday night against West Virginia. I mean, that kid just has that moxie, that poise, and it's not a cockiness to him. He just plays at a high level, and and you really have to respect it if you the opponent. And what he's been doing as a true freshman has been spectacular, man. So he makes that team fun and exciting to watch. They got a really good defense again this year. They're going to be a tough team in the Big 12, man, which makes that race interesting when you look at the Arizona State, Iowa State, and then you throw BYU in that equation. Look the hell out. All right, next up, we got, obviously, the Fighting Illini. Obviously, with Luke Altmaier has been a team that you have to continue to watch, right? They're in the Big Ten. Their big games are coming up here over the next few weeks to see how for real they are, right? Remember, they pulled off that big win against USC, who's no longer ranked. But we know how good of a program, obviously, Illinois has been here recently, and obviously, how good Altmaier's playing. But they're going to have to prove themselves if they want to get in that Big 10 race in order to compete and contend. Next up, Notre Dame. Y'all know how I feel about them. CJ Carr just had one of his best games here recently. The game right before Boise State. He's continued to flourish and get better and better. They got the weapons. They got Fields. They got Faison. They can run the ball. Jeremiah Love. Defense is getting better. I won't say it's great, but it's getting better at the right time. Notre Dame is definitely a team. A lot of people say, they shouldn't be ranked number 24 with 2 losses. I think Notre Dame will be fine, but their schedule is not the best moving forward. They need USC badly to get ranked again. Now, Michigan, that was a tough win at home. They obviously played up against Wisconsin, a team that really challenged them in that game, right? And the offense still hasn't gotten to a level where you want it at. But I want to credit Bryce Underwood, who's continuing to develop and grow. 270 passing yards, a career high in that game. He's continuing to flourish and improve his craft. He's going to be a player to watch, and his development as a passer is going to be very potent for Michigan moving forward, especially when teams sell out to stop the run. I think Michigan is going to be a team, and they're going to have a horse in the race before it's said and done. Now, the game of the week this week is Missouri, Bo Perbula, and obviously going up against Alabama. That is a massive game for both of those teams. Alabama moves up again. They were number 10 ranked last week. They're now moved up, obviously, to number 8. That's a massive game for both teams. Missouri's undefeated. Missouri just got some big commits as well. That's going to be a hell of a game. All right, man. How about them Yellow Jackets, man? Number 13. Hey, man, it's always nice when it's a bye week. Obviously, and you're able to move up, right? Georgia Tech was number 17. They moved down a spot, barely beating Wake Forest. But now, after everything that happened, Iowa State losing, Penn State losing to an unranked UCLA who's no longer in the poll, which is obviously crazy. Texas losing to Florida as well, who's a one-win team before their bout. Now you're Georgia Tech. Everything's out in front of you. You're 5-0 in the year. You host Virginia Tech this year. You have a very favorable schedule. The rest of the way, the hardest game you probably got coming up will obviously be against Georgia. The sleeper game is NC State and Duke. Both of those teams are sneaky good. And, the record's not going to necessarily show up, but Duke's offense is potent. It's phenomenal. They put up 31 points in the first half against California. That offense is a problem with Darian Mensah. So that's the big game to kind of circle on the road. They're going to have to handle business. But Georgia Tech has everything in front of them at number 13. Next up, you got Tennessee. I like the Vols. I like what they've been able to do this year. Bye week this past week. But they should be a team that continues to trek forward. Offense is potent. You got one of the best DBs in the country in Colton Hood. You also got Jermon McCoy who's coming back. Boot Carter is a special safety as well. And the offensive firepower that you got, one of the best receivers in the nation, and Chris Brazzell II, Joey Aguilar, Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley. This team is loaded. LSU coming off a bye week. How will they respond after that loss they took to Ole Miss, who's number 4 ranked team in the country? Georgia obviously ran roughshod over Kentucky, 35-14. Gunnar Stockton, massive game at home, dual threat ability. He's continuing to tear it up. 3 touchdowns in this game. I like what he's been able to do. Next up, Texas Tech. Big win, obviously, for them this past week. They handled business, continue to look like a team that's going to be a problem moving forward. Another team in the Big 12 that has a lot of teams ranked, obviously, as you guys can see in this AP poll. They're going to be a problem as well. The Arizona States, right? Obviously, the Texas Techs, the Iowa States of the world. It's a lot of ranked teams from the Big 12 that are in here, and Texas Tech is a team to watch moving forward. Bama, they did what they were supposed to do at home, man. No surprise against Vanderbilt. I like how this Crimson Tide team is looking. I took them to win. They didn't disappoint me. Indiana, big game this week against Oregon. How for real are you? Fernando Mendoza established himself as a Heisman candidate. Can he keep it moving forward? Oklahoma, think about this. Your rivals coming up. Red River Rivalry at 3:30 p.m. in Dallas. You can knock Texas out of the CFP with a win on Saturday. Yes, 3 losses, they're done. There's no coming back from that. You have a chance to completely end their playoff hopes. Texas A&M continues to roll. Marshall Reed, a phenomenal game. Big win over Mississippi State. Had no answers for that offense. They looked good, and they've been tough to beat. Ole Miss, obviously, coming off a bye week, another team to continue to watch. I told y'all, QB1. Just continue to play him. They'll be just fine. Oregon, Dante Moore, Decorian Moore. This is a team that's been potent. They've been studs all year. They will be a tough team to beat. How about my Canes, man? They really should be number 1 for real in the country. I love how this team look. We got to finish better in the fourth quarter, but this team has been potent all year long. Last up, Ohio State, Cardinal Tate show this past one. Julian Sanders, who I just talked about, had a massive game. They are the real deal. That's my thoughts, y'all. Y'all comment down below.